we're using AI all wrong. At least that's what you think, right, Brian? So tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, so I see everyone's excited about figuring out how can they use or leverage AI in their business nowadays. And a lot of people are approaching it the wrong way. You see some people talk about how like, oh, I'm just not getting value from ChatGPT. It's stupid, whatever. I'm going to cancel my subscription. And then others just thinking they're getting value and just posting all of this like AI slop content everywhere that it's clearly not something that they wrote. And I'm over here thinking like, what do these people mean that they're going to cancel their subscription? Like if ChatGPT cost 10 or 100 times the price, I would still be paying it like in a heartbeat. And I think the fundamental issue is that you should use AI less of a tool to just like get information from and more for like its intelligence and reasoning capabilities to help you make decisions on things. And so you don't want it to create the content for you. You don't want to assume it knows everything and gives you the information back. You want to explain your processes, explain the challenge or the problem you're trying to solve and give it the proper context so that way it can really help you and act more as a collaborator than something that's doing it for you.
So um, paying 100 times for ChatGPT may be a little bit overboard. That's hyperbolic, but I get it.
I,
It
I
is.
I would still do it.
You would do it. So it's
Yep.
20. What is it? $20 a
I
month
mean, so
that
we
we're
we
paying.
spend quite a bit on it already. I bought subscriptions for my whole team. I have multiple accounts for myself now. Like that new voice mode, they only give you like an hour, so I have separate accounts so I can be able to make sure I'm using it more if I need. And then we, of course, like use the API in both our business and internally and for our customers.
The 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 new voice mode. I don't like it as much as I like the previous version of that. What do you think?
I think it's incredible. So it there's not really much documentation on it just yet of like how it actually works and how you can use it. And so I made a YouTube video actually. It's done pretty well so far. It's got like 50,000 ish views about ways you can actually use it in business. And the main difference is the old voice mode was kind of like a trick. It was taking whatever you said, turning that into text, giving that to ChatGPT. Then ChatGPT would reply in text, but it wouldn't show you that text. It would take that text and then turn it into audio and play it back for you. So it was kind of like you're talking to somebody, but it's more like a like walkie-talkie back and forth. And the problem there is ChatGPT couldn't understand your like pronunciation, inflection, emotions, or anything like that. Now it's true audio to audio. And so this is the first time in AI when we've actually had this. If you now talk to this new advanced voice mode, it can tell how fast you're talking. It can tell if you're nervous. It can tell like if you're pronouncing a word correctly or not. And so like if you're preparing for, let's say like a presentation or want to do like a sales pitch or something, you can actually practice that now with the AI and it can give you feedback and say, hey, you sounded a little rushed here or actually or something about this and like actually give you advice and walk through that. And there's a lot of like interesting ways that now I feel like it can be used because it's going to be more like an actual human that you're talking to rather than like this fake voice response.
Well, so I am using AI wrong, evidently, to support your hot take at the top of the show.
So,
Well,
well, what's tough and what maybe caught you or some others is that this new voice mode, it's really strict on the security, and it has a good reason for it because they don't want it to like copy your voice or something, and then people start using that to blackmail you or something like this, and all kinds of things like that. So it basically refuses to identify like speakers, but it can. So if you're talking with a couple people, like I have it like tell stories with my daughter and stuff, and it knows when she's talking. It can tell. And like I told ChatGPT, hey, she's a toddler, she's a couple years old. It actually changes like its tone of voice when she talks to it and it responds to be like more like friendly because it knows she's a little kid.
oh, that's cool.
And so, but if you ask it, you say like, who just said that? It will refuse to like, it'll act like it can't tell, but it can. And so because of that, you might have tried some things and feel like, okay, it doesn't actually know what it's talking about. So you have to kind of ask it in the right way to get the right information back.
Well, if I'm being honest, the reason that I don't like the new voice mode as much is the functionality in terms of how you interact with it. And I'll give you an example. So I just recently, before they switched to the new one, because I'm a subscriber as well, is I would if I'm in the car, I did the voice mode a ton in the car because if I'm driving and I just want to think or ideate, which is the way
Mm.
I really like to use ChatGPT, is like, hey, let's talk about ideas on this thing. And so I would go into voice mode and you hit it, and of course it does that, does the popping noises, and then you can tell that it's listening to you, and I would begin talking. But if I pause, as long as I just pause right there, it would stop and then start giving me a response. I'm like, look, dang it, I'm not done talking yet. So what I would
Mm.
do is I would say, you are not allowed to respond until I say this word. And then I would give it a keyword and be like, all right, Jason, I know. Well, then I just learned that if I just held the button, like physically held it, it would listen to me forever. Or I don't know forever, but it listen to me forever. I just learned that. Well, the new voice mode, I don't know that there's that function. And again, that's probably being very nitpicky on use case, but is there a way to do that where it won't respond until you're done?
So there's a workaround way to do it, but I think it's actually better. And because my one of my main use cases for this and what I've been waiting for was I've been talking to my team and stuff before, and we're sitting there talking about something, and then we realize like we have to start brainstorming about ideas. And I'm just sitting there like, I wish I could just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, what do you think?" Like at that moment, and they would already know everything that we've been talking about. And with the old voice mode, you couldn't really do that. But with the new one, what you can do is, unfortunately, they don't let you like pre-fill text to it, but you can add custom instructions in your settings for ChatGPT, and that will affect the voice mode. So I came up with a single sentence that you say in voice conversations, I want you to respond with mm-hmm until you hear me directly, like explicitly address you and say ChatGPT. And so then the way that it works is like you could leave it on in a meeting or when you're talking to it and brainstorming. And if you pause, it's just going to go, mm-hmm, and it's not going to actually say anything. And then when you say like, hey, ChatGPT, like now, what do you think about this? Then it'll actually give you the response. So that might work for you for that same kind of like in the car, like just wanting to talk through things.
Okay. Well, and that's very similar to what I had been doing the old voice mode before I learned that button trick. But point taken. So, what are some other ways that we are using AI wrong? And by the way, let me kind of tell everybody who we're talking to because I don't think I've introduced you yet. Let me let everybody on the show know we're talking to Bryan McAnulty. He's the founder of a company called Heights Platform, which is an all-in-one AI-powered online course creation and community building software that empowers thousands of creators in more than 100 countries to build knowledge businesses. And so I'm in a knowledge business as a business coach, as a leader of a mastermind. And he began his journey back in '09 when he founded a company called Valora, which is a digital product design studio. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But right now, Heights Platform is like this guy's an AI genius. And so we're going to deep dive into what this is on AI today on the show. But we're also going to talk about success because that's what we do here. That's on the root of all success. We're going to get to that. So just stay tuned, Mr. or Mrs. Listener. Thank you for being here today. So, Bryan, what are other ways that we're using AI all wrong?
So I think a lot of people, when they approach AI, assuming we'll skip the idea of just having it make everything for you, where it's just obviously generated by ChatGPT. A lot of people realize that there's like the planning step and the execution step. But I think the missing piece is process because you want the AI, if it's ChatGPT, if it's something else, to help you in your business in some way. But the AI can be doing its job, but you're still running the business. So you wouldn't just hire an employee and say, do this for me. You probably have a process in your business, some kind of standard operating procedure of how that thing is actually done because you've gone through it and you know, like, okay, if this happens, this is what we have to do. This is the way that we handle it. This is how we respond, all of that. And in your organization, you probably have a lot of these processes already created. And so you're going to give AI autonomy to work within those processes, but you don't want it to like decide or define those processes for you. Like you're running the business, not AI. And I think people kind of forget that sometimes. Like if you had an employee, that's how you would treat it. But when you have AI, you should be treating it the same way. We're not at the point yet that you can say, hey, ChatGPT, make me $1 billion. And then you just let it go off, right? So you're running the business and you have to take these processes that you have. So if you have SOPs and stuff in your organization already, like you're off to a great start. Basically, see what parts of those you can take and have AI assist with. You can use there's tools like Zapier Central that let you connect ChatGPT and AI to other applications to take action. And basically, you want to break down this SOP and all your processes into these specific tasks. And you can kind of go one by one of having AI help with some little part. And then maybe once that starts working well, then you figure out, okay, great, now let's move on to the next part. And there may be things in your organization that you can completely automate with AI, or things that you actually wish you could accomplish, but it just never made sense before to have a human do that because it would be so tedious or take so much time, that now maybe you can do that because you can have AI sitting there doing it for you.
So I know most listeners are probably not only are they just familiar with ChatGPT, but a lot of them are probably intimately involved with ChatGPT, maybe a subscriber they're using on a regular basis. Let me ask you about a couple of things. And again, I know you are not OpenAI. You're just a really deep user of the software platform and the hardware, I guess you could say, behind it. But why does ChatGPT seem to be on mushrooms every once in a while? Because it seems like every once in a while I'll get to working with it and I'll ask it and it'll just go off the rails on something like, I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't say this. Why are you referring to something that we talked about 3 weeks ago? Or the worst thing that ever happened, and this is probably not even a similar situation, is that it memorizes everything now, has this memory bank of everything.
Yep.
But on there are certain conversations, I'll say, you're not allowed to put this in your memory because it's private information only for this one conversation. And I don't want it in there because I don't want to skew everything else that it knows about me. Mm-hmm. Well, I asked it a question, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, and it mentioned something from that conversation it wasn't supposed to remember. And I'm like, holy crap, you weren't supposed to remember this. So what is it about ChatGPT that seems to go haywire every once in a while? I mean, there are times I have to log out and just go away and come back later because it's not working. What's going on with that?
So there's a couple possibilities there. First of all, the memory feature, I feel like it's not really designed super well yet, because I see it remembers things all the time, and I see it says memory updated, and it's like, oh man, this is definitely for these 30 seconds only. I don't need you to remember this. So I've seen that happen as well. But part of the issue may also be what I refer to as prompt bias. So every single word that you put into the context of a conversation has some kind of meaning, and is going to influence what ChatGPT responds. So if you can put in the perfect instructions, the perfect kind of information, then the better that is, the better response you're going to get out of it. But there's a lot of meaning interpreted from every single thing that you say. And sometimes saying the thing is not the right way to do it. So what I'm referring to is you told it, don't remember this. It's just now thinking about remembering something. And so it may actually be go ahead and do that instead of doing what you actually wanted to do. A more concrete example of that is when you try to use their image generation. I've seen some jokes online where people say okay, I want you to make me this picture, and it makes a picture. And I think there was one, they said there's an elephant in the picture. They said, okay, you know what? I want you to edit now this picture, but make sure there's absolutely no elephants in the picture. And they get the next picture back, and it's this room, and there's little elephants all around the background. It's no, make no elephants at all. And it can't help but put elephants in there because you said elephants. And so in that case, the image model is separate, and it's probably saying no elephants, but because the word's in there, it's oh, elephant, okay. So there's things like that where it can be a little bit dumb when you don't understand, or you're not familiar with how it kind of works internally. But I like to usually start from a fresh conversation. If the memory thing is a problem, I would go in and delete the memories in your settings for the ones that you don't want. And the fresh conversation.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
And sometimes if you say
I
something,
finally got it.
and like,
It's
let's
the
say
brand
it's
new
wrong, and then you
Relay
respond to it and
Bank
say, no,
credit
that's
card.
not right, blah,
So
blah,
check
blah.
it out. I'm going to do
You
a
got
little
to do
unboxing
this.
for you so you can check this
What I
out.
like to do
So
instead
here
of
we go.
that is go back and click edit
Nice
on
little
that first
case.
message,
Kinda like the
and
American
adjust,
Express,
like
you know,
improve
they're-
whatever
they're-
I was trying
they're
to
not
describe.
playing. They're
so
doing
that
it right.
gets it right. Because if you go down
Oh,
this
look at
path
this.
of it
There's a
getting
quote
wrong,
right inside. It
then
says,
it starts to, in a way,
"Success is having to
role-play
worry about every
the
damn
AI
thing
that
in the
just
world
can't
except
quite
money."
get it for you.
Johnny Cash.
And so you don't want to be in the
That's pretty
position of
good. I've not
correcting
heard
it.
that
You
one.
want to keep it in the position
this
of
is
being an
nice.
expert. And so it's often
Little
better to just
thing on the
edit
back,
your
up
message
to
before,
1.5%
rather than start
cash
to
back,
like
no annual fees or
correct it
interest,
until it's
30-day
wrong.
billing cycle. I did not know.
And
You're the first person to
there it
mention that
is.
you can edit messages,
It's
and
the
I just opened up
Relay
ChatGPT
credit
and I see
card.
the pencil.
It's a Visa.
I don't know how I've missed that.
I'm gonna show you my
all
number.
this time, but
There
yeah,
it
you
is.
just click on that.
Look at
and
that.
edit it. Okay. Very
Boom.
good.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
go check out Relay Bank.
naturally,
Go
in
to
a
the Real
conversation,
Jason
usually you don't
Duncan
do something like that. You don't
relay
go back and edit a
and you could
previous
start
message. There's
banking
no
one
reason
of
to
the
do
best
that.
banks
But in this
in
case,
the
it's
world.
a super, super powerful.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
You know, the funny thing about that, the reason I was laughing about that elephant thing is I recently had an issue, not with elephants, but the image generator. I wanted it to generate an image of a man, an entrepreneur in a suit in an office with a superhero's cape on, like a red superhero cape. And I was illustrating something in a talk I was giving. And it did. It was fine. And then I said, okay, now take that same image and I want you to create another one very similar, same man, same suit, same office, but I want the cape on the floor. Like I don't want him wearing it. It needs to be. And I was very explicit. It could not produce an image without that dude wearing a cape. And at one point, the people in the office in the background were flying around like Superman. So that's what I mean. Like it was on mushrooms. I think it just, it starts doing drugs and it loses track of what's going on. But how did you get involved in being such a deep user of AI and ChatGPT? Is that at the core of what Heights platform does, or are you just a super user of it in your business and that business does something different?
So AI is still like relatively new in like since ChatGPT came out and really exploded the whole thing. But shortly before that, in like the days of GPT-3, we started getting involved in it in Heights platform. And that's when I saw like, wow, this is really capable to actually help in like, there's some kind of intelligence here that can actually help us get things done, like, and provide real business value. And so since like kind of the end of 2022, we've transformed Heights platform into this AI powered software where now we're probably, I think, still like the first platform that can say that we're this platform for creators and you get your own AI assistant and AI coach. Because most of the users of our software, they're like solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, and maybe they have a virtual assistant. But if they don't, usually the first two people that they would hire would be an assistant and a coach. And so we thought, like, how can we take the processes we know that these creators have to go through maybe every single day and then help them automate or achieve those things faster with the help of AI? So we've got Heights AI chat, and that acts as like your assistant. You can ask it questions about like how to use our platform. But what's really cool is you can actually ask it to make edits for you. So instead of you saying like, how do I publish my online course? You can actually just say like, publish my online course, and it'll go there and say, is this good? And you just click update and it can actually do it for you. So I think this is like, it's something that not many tools have features like right now, but I think all of software is going to be like this pretty soon. That like you don't have to learn the software anymore. You basically ask the AI to interact with it and do what you need to accomplish instead of like trying to go and find these buttons yourself. So that's kind of like I'd say I chat. I'd say I coach is the first autonomous coach, and that's meant to help you more in your marketing. And unlike ChatGPT, where you have to like ask it, like, "Hey, can you try to be my coach?" or something like this, I'd say I coach is learning in the background about everything you're building inside your Heights platform account, any courses, digital products, communities, and then it understands. You kind of fill out this intake form when you first start using it. It understands your business goals of like what you're trying to accomplish, and then it will actually message you. It'll ask you questions, and then once a week it'll send you an email and give you some tasks and recommendations. And that was my favorite part about building it, that you can wake up in the morning and say, hey, I got an email from my coach this morning, but actually it's my AI coach sent it to me.
Wow. So I'm looking at your website now. So it's heightsplatform.com. And I'm looking at your pricing matrix for you got the challenge, basic, pro, and academy. So when you go to set up a Heights platform account, tell me and the listeners, what exactly are you getting? What happens? And we'll do, for the sake of conversation, I think what you're talking about is this is primarily for solopreneurs, anybody that's selling knowledge, like coaches, creators, mastermind leaders like me. Is that right? That's who this is
Yep,
for?
exactly. So
Okay. So what do
creators,
we get? So
solopreneurs,
tell us what we get.
you're selling a course, community, coaching, digital downloads, anything like that. We're basically an all-in-one solution for that. So you can build your website, you've got your members area, you can build the actual products, you can sell it, you have a payment processing and checkout, and you've got analytics. It's all there. So you don't need a bunch of different software tools. You can just use Heights Platform. And when you first sign up and sign into it, we have our AI product generator that's going to help kind of start you off with kind of how I'm describing this. So you can just say, hey, I want to build a mastermind, and I want it to include some kind of course. I want a place for people to discuss with each other. And you can describe that in your own words. And then Heights AI figures out, okay, well, in terms of Heights platform, that means we're going to create this digital product, a course, a community. And then he said, this is what he wants for the pricing. And it goes and sets up the like attributes for all those products and then builds it for you. And then all you have to do is go in and actually add your content later on.
So is it completely replacing things like Kajabi, Teachable, Go High Level? Is
Yep,
that what it does?
exactly. Yeah.
So does it integrate with those? Like, I mean,
No,
I'm a Kajabi user, and so we are deep into Kajabi. Everything's built there. I don't sell courses. The only thing I have is the Exeter Club Mastermind, and we just recently started using Go High Level for CRM purposes and to integrate some of the higher level like text capabilities and chat bots on the website, things that Kajabi doesn't do. So
mhm.
we're using both of those systems right now. If I said, okay, I want to use Heights platform too, is it like a bolt-on add-on? Like how would that work?
No, so like we're really like a complete alternative to something like Kajabi. We don't have like text message features and things like Go High Level. So we're not as heavy on like the CRM part. But everything else and more that like you could do in something like Kajabi, you can do in Heights platform. And we realized like the migration process is painful. So if there's anything you're not satisfied with, if you want to try out Heights platform, let me know. We can talk after this. Our team can actually migrate you over and no charge if you're interested.
Yeah, I think I had a client one time who was he was building a CRM platform, and I was helping him kind of get that ready for market. And what I told him was, and it was that, listen, as good as your CRM is, it could be the best thing ever, but the migration, the switching is the worst part of this whole thing. Even if
Yep.
it's better, and I recognize it's better, if I don't want to switch, the pain of change is too great. It's worse than the pain of staying the same. And so by what I counseled him, I said, look, man, what you need to do is tell people you'll handle the migration, and you will also handle the move back if they need it going to go back, if they don't want to stay. Like that takes away the biggest objection. So I think what you're doing, Bryan, is really, really smart. And the fact that it's so deep into I think that's very, very clever. Now, with Heights platform, you're now AI powered, but originally it wasn't, right? Because you started
Correct.
back a long time ago before this. I think
Yeah.
ChatGPT really hit it big at the end of 22. I think that's when it
Yep.
really came out.
Yeah, exactly. We
So,
launched originally in 2018 for Heights platform.
so what were you doing, and who are your clients? Is it the same thing? You're working with course creators and knowledge sellers?
Yeah, so it was always the same kind of customers and everything. And the kind of vision hasn't changed in any way. This AI is just now helping us fulfill that for our customers even better. And from the start, that has always been that we want to help creators be able to focus on what they really enjoy instead of worrying about all the technical stuff. And more importantly, we want to help their students actually get results. And this kind of started from me seeing some of the early digital marketers. They would have this webinar, they would put all this effort into the marketing. You would buy this pretty expensive course or program for maybe a couple $1,000s, and you get in, and it's basically a couple videos behind the paywall. So, like, the actual student experience really left a lot to be desired. And I was thinking, well, why can't we take these principles that are applied in like social media that's like designed to keep you glued to your screen all the time, and why don't we use those for a good thing to help people learn? And so that was kind of the foundational thoughts for Heights platform, is how can we actually help students get better results by making a more engaging learning experience. And so we've got features like gamification, and you have these points and these badges and ways to motivate students to actually go through it and to help you structure your content so that way you can just focus on creating it instead of having to be like a professional instructional designer or something to understand the way to organize it.
And so tell me you've been working in, I think that it's at 100 countries to build these knowledge help these knowledge businesses. So give us an idea of, or give us a story case study of a customer that you've worked with and how Heights platform was able to change their business.
Sure. So I always like to do this because I feel a mistake that some entrepreneurs make is they have to like, they're like always focused on like what's the trend now? What's the cool thing to do now that's making money? And realistically, like, we've seen all these kinds of businesses be successful in like these niches that you would have never heard of. And one example customer that I like, because I'm a musician myself, if you're watching the video, you can see got guitars and stuff behind me. They teach the hammered dulcimer, and more specifically, like music theory around the hammered dulcimer. And being a musician myself, I didn't even know what that was when they first became a customer.
I know what it is because
And
I'm from Tennessee, and that's where they started. I know where those are. Yeah.
hmm. And so this is this instrument that is definitely not as popular as saying like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to be a rock star on guitar, or I'm going to teach you piano or something like that. And they're making a full-time income selling courses about this. And like, that is not the kind of business most people think like, oh, I'm going to start a business, like an online course. This is how I'm going to be successful. Most entrepreneurs, I think, we see all the ads for other entrepreneurs, like selling us a digital marketing course or how to run ads, how to start a service business or something. And so the reality is there are so many different niches that these courses are built in. But as entrepreneurs, I think we don't always see them all because we only see the people who are targeting us to try to sell us products.
So what's a hammer dulcimer? Like, so what, so they sign up Heights platform, built the courses, have a community built in there,
Yep.
and people are learning the hammer dulcimer all over the world.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's great, man. So what would you say if you look back at your history as an entrepreneur and the success that you experienced building Heights platform and helping so many people? What is your key to success? How did you unlock success for you and your business?
So for me, it's been just this constant, relentless work towards what I'm trying to create and accomplish, and realizing that it's not something that's gonna come maybe right away, but being okay with that. And so Heights platform came about because in 2009 I started this web design, graphic design company. The web design turned more into like web applications. The web applications turned more into like, okay, sick of working with these clients, how can we try to build our own products? And then over time, eventually after building things with clients and building other kind of solutions where they were like platforms where one person would serve many people, then and trying other business models myself, trying to build online courses and digital products myself, I eventually came to this idea for Heights platform, but also had now the skills to do it because we'd been building web applications for years. And when we first built Heights platform, it was also something that was not like the easiest choice of software to pick as a business, because in the software world, everyone talks about building the MVP. So like the minimum viable product that you can get people to pay for your software. And for Heights, the minimum viable product is massive. It's not something you could just put together in a month, because you got to have your website, you got to have the login, the member area, the community area, payment processing for the creators to collect payments. And there's just all these pieces. So we kind of knew what we had to build. And there's a lot of effort that had to go into building that to kind of get it to a certain point already where we knew we could actually promote it, get people to pay for it. And so I knew it was a long road ahead, and just focusing on the like being okay with that. The goal is further out there and not something I'm going to achieve in a week, a month, or even a year or two.
So how would you define that word success? What does it mean to you?
I think for me, it means being able to have the freedom to wake up and be doing what you enjoy, apart from like if you didn't need any money at all. So if I needed no money at all, I would want to wake up and be doing mostly roughly the same thing that I'm doing now.
I love it. Now, by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
I think I'm doing okay, but I definitely think there's things that can be improved. It's definitely more stressful than I think I would want it to be sometimes. My time isn't completely under my control at times, but definitely I'm working on it and always improving.
Love it, man. So as we get ready to close out the show today, and I will at the end make sure everybody has an opportunity to get in touch with you, knows how to get in touch with you. And of course, in the show notes, we'll have all of your social contact links, etc. So make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you're on Spotify, listen to it wherever, go to the show notes, all this stuff's going to be there. But Bryan, what would you say, man, is if you had to put on your consultant hat to these entrepreneurs listening to the show, what is one piece of advice that you would give an entrepreneur?
Would say that you got to just do it. And my kind of like phrase, like overlooking my life, I think is something along the lines of like, I do what I want and so can you. And so I really believe you can accomplish the things that you want to. You've just got to be relentless and keep at it.
All right. I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today, and congratulations on the success of Heights platform. And I definitely do want to talk with you about that, because I am an AI kind of a, I wouldn't call myself a nerd or a junkie. I'm really, really interested in it. I subscribe to ChatGPT and Claude, and then I have Gemini, which is new to me. I'm just now figuring that out with Google. I don't really dig it yet. I don't know if it's just because it's different. I don't know. I haven't figured it out, but I really love it. I think you and I could probably geek out on ChatGPT. And one of the things I want to do is I want to bring just basic and medium, not totally advanced, but basic and medium ChatGPT skills to my mastermind. And so we might want to talk about what that might look like to bring some advice to them, because it amazes me as I'm talking to these guys that are running $50 million companies, and they're like, I didn't know you could do that with ChatGPT. I'm like, how do you not know that? How do this is part of the deal. So let me give you the last word today, man. What's on your mind? I'll give you the last word in the show. Thank you for being here, man. What's up?
Thanks. Yeah. So I appreciate you talking with me. I appreciate everybody watching and listening. If you're interested in more of what I'm doing and what we're doing, go check out heightsplatform.com. We've got a free 30-day trial. There's no credit card required. And if you're not quite ready, but you're curious about like seeing more of that, we've got actually a free community at creatorclimb.com. And that is all built on Heights platform. So the website, when you log in and sign up, everything you see there, that's all Heights platform as well. Other than that, if you want to see more of me online, I've got a YouTube channel. I've got my own podcast, The Creator's Adventure. Jason, you were on it. So go and check out that episode as well. And yeah, that's it.
All right, Bryan, thank you for being on the show. And thank you for listening or watching this show. And I want to say too, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts right now, Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm hoping that this has been a good audio experience for you today. Make sure you subscribe, leave a good review. The reason us podcasters ask for that is because it helps us in the algorithm. It also makes us feel good when we look in there and see that we got lots of 5-star reviews and lots of subscribers. But more than that, it gets us in front of more people. But I do want to say, too, if you haven't watched this on YouTube, go to therealjasonduncan.com. And down the footer of my website, there is a spot to click on YouTube. It goes straight to my channel. Or if you're on YouTube, all you got to type in is The Real Jason Duncan. You're going to find me. Go to that channel, check it out, and listen to this show. Watch this show. You get to see Bryan sitting in his studio with his guitars and his amps behind. What kind of? I didn't ask you this on the show, and I know that we're already past the point where you're supposed to be involved in the show, because I told you earlier that, hey, when I start the end, you're not going to be on screen, but I'm going to bring you back in. My editor going to bring you back in. What kind of guitars do you have back there? Because I'm a guitar player too.
Sure. I got a Strandberg and a Les Paul. The Strandberg is that white one. It's pretty unique. There's no head on it, actually.
I see
So
that. I
it's
wondered
really
what that was.
compact. The frets are fanned and they're stainless steel, and then the neck is actually like this trapezoid shape. So it's really different.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
Well, yeah, I definitely have some recommendations for you if you want.
Well, anyway, thank you guys for listening to the show. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for for subscribing and leaving good reviews. Leave a comment on YouTube. Let Bryan know you thought his story was pretty cool. And go check out Heights Platform, heightsplatform.com. And then they're on all the social medias, X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can go find Bryan McAnulty and Heights Platform right there. Make sure you tune in again next time when I bring in yet another very successful entrepreneur and talk about his or her journey to success and what they know in the world that's really interesting and helps them be successful. Until then, as always, I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.